John, Sylvia, here tonight with, as usual, co-host Carlos Cesar. Carlos?
Yes, John,
Tuesday?
how are you?
Good.
Again, Tuesday.
Yep.
Yes, it's Tuesday, and we're back again with one more show of neighborhood news. For the Portuguese community, I have a surprise. The guest today, show 26, we have a guest that speaks Portuguese.
Oh, okay, see? So maybe you should have her do the introduction today for us.
Quero dar as boas-vindas a toda a nossa comunidade portuguesa que está a escutar-nos neste momento, seja através da internet ou na sua televisão. Sejam bem-vindos. Este é mais um programa de notícias da sua vizinhança. Nós temos alguns anúncios para fazer, mas eu gostava de vos dizer que a convidada de hoje é portuguesa e fala português. E ela vai falar português connosco, mas é a Presidente do Conselho Municipal de Fall River. John, do you want to introduce? I always
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm going to introduce.
But before you do that.
Yeah, and before you do that, I was going to say, before you announce that, and you got a haircut today for the president of the council coming in today.
Yes, I had to clean up myself. I had to clean up myself. You know, it's a very special interview today. But very quick, let's go over the bus trip for the Flints. We are doing Salem, Massachusetts bus trip Saturday the 13th. We leave Pleasant Street at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We come back around 11 at night. If it's only $20, if you've never been there, or if you've been there before, and if you were there before, I bet you want to go back again. It's only $20. So come with us. You can call my number and get your tickets. We still have some tickets available for the second bus. First bus, it's sold out. The number is 774-526-2221, and you can see the number on the end of the show. Very good.
Okay, great. Well, we can go right to our guest. Welcome, Councilor Linda Pereira. Thanks for
my pleasure to be here with you gentlemen this evening. And while you're talking about events that are happening, as you know, there was an event in October, on the October 14th, which was the event of the downtown block party, end of the year kind of block party, that Councilor Rigo and myself tried to put together along.
September.
I'm sorry, September. I'm thinking about the one that's a day after
my trip.
I'm trying to think. Thank you, Mr. Cesar. It was on September 14th, and I had a meeting with the mayor. His office was extremely cooperative, and with the cooperation of his office and Councilor Rigo and other councilors who participated, he is having another one. We're having one on October the 19th. It's on a Friday evening, October 19th. It's going to be called Alive After 5. And it's where downtown businesses are able to bring their wares out onto the street. And they close down the street. You know, every time you do something, you need to look at it, to critique it, and see what you could have done better, what worked, what didn't. And in doing the September 14th, there was some restaurant owners and some businesses that felt slighted, because the way the ordinance reads for Restaurant Row, it goes from Sullivan Drive to Rodman and Columbia Streets, and it was that area there. So restaurants beyond that, and restaurants down on South Main, et cetera, down Columbia Street, they didn't get the benefit of that. So what we've done in speaking to the business owners, we had a meeting with the business owners to discuss what works and how we can incorporate and be inclusive of everyone. You know, anybody who has a business in the Flint, on East Main Street, Pleasant Street, if they want to bring something down, that they are able to do that. So, and I think it's good for the community to kind of get out. You get to see people you haven't seen in a while, and it's a last event before the cold weather comes in. We are hoping to be able to have this occur through the summer months, maybe May, June, July, August, once a month, specific day that everybody knows and people will be able to come. So hopefully that's yet another event that we'd be able to have. So,
I'm sorry, do you want to
para a
talk about?
can I say it in português?
sure.
Para a comunidade portuguesa, no dia 19 de outubro, vamos ter uma festa na cidade. Vai correr do City Hall até o Parque Kennedy, e os restaurantes podem botar as cadeiras e mesas cá fora. Pessoas que vendem várias coisas também podem estar lá a vender. Tem uma sapataria nova que abriu no South Main Street. Gostas dos meus sapatos? Comprei-los lá. Vai lá porque ela sempre tem desconto. Tem outro boutique que também abriu. Também tem o Baby Mundo, o Baby World. Tem muitos negociantes que estão lá. A gente temos que ir dar apoio a eles, porque assim, se eles têm mais negócio, vão depois precisar de mais ajuda. So é uma maneira também de ajudar a nossa comunidade.
Yes.
So
I said
how-
you have to shop local.
How was the one, I was away on vacation, but it seems, from what I heard, that was pretty successful, the one a few weeks back, right?
It was very successful. We didn't get a lot of PR. It was kind of put together in a few short weeks, like 2 weeks, to be honest with you. Danny had this idea of wanting to do it. I had thought about it a couple of years ago. Danny thought about it, and I said, you know what, when you want to do it, let me know. I'll help you. We did it. Unfortunately, there was an illness that in his family that he's dealing with, so I kind of stepped to the plate and helped out. But your daughter was there, had a lovely time. Every restaurant was overflowing. So it was wonderful, and you really got to see a lot of people in the community being out and about. The mayor was there, many members of our school committee were there, members of our council were there. So it was an opportunity, too, for people to bump into you and ask you. I mean, I had lots of people asking me questions that night about various issues. One of them that I'll talk to you about is the great floods that we've had recently, which was very concerning to people. Actually, I met with a lady on Stevens Street who has lived on that property for 67 years. Her husband's family lived there prior to her moving in. 97 years, they've never had water in their basement. Not only did her basement flood out, but in her washing machine, she literally had mulch from neighbors' yards in her washing machine. She's an older woman, and her daughter had to come and help her to clean things up. Many of the homes along Stevens Street, I took photographs of it. I couldn't believe that they were given sandbags. There is an issue. There are places in the city that are flooded that have never flooded before. Usually, historically, the ones that I'm familiar with are in the Flint. Stafford Square area tends to flood up a little bit. On Bedford Street, in front of the gas station, tends to puddle up a little there. But not what I'm seeing East Main and Globe. I mean, it blew the manhole cover off. And, in doing some investigative work on that, another place was down north, near the market down north, and the mills there. I mean, elevator equipment totally damaged. People that lost supplies that they had. So I talked to the council and said, this can't be happening. Again, we're facing this, what's the issue here? I spoke to Councilor Rigo about it, and a resolution was filed. There was about 5 councilors that all filed onto the resolution. It was a lengthy discussion a few weeks back at the council, and, we have discussed it. We will be discussing it. I know the way you tape these shows, it's a little bit off, but at the meeting on the 25th of September, it will be discussed, and I'm sure it will go beyond that, because we need answers. We need some answers to these problems. So many people lost so much. I had an individual tell me 6 hot water heaters blew out when it first rained. Then, to replace them, the gas company they were rented, they wouldn't replace them because it wasn't a malfunction of the machine, but rather because of the water and it's not covered. So those had to be removed, and he had to go out and purchase hot water tanks for 6 apartments and lost them all. And now having to go and do it again. There's a problem. Something is wrong. I know that there's a question of gates opening or gates closing or how much water is held underneath. I don't buy the answer of, we need to redo pipes. These are the same pipes that we've had before we had the CSO. And before we had the CSO with these pipes and this rain, and to say, well, we had a lot of rain that fell in a short amount of time, you know what? I'm 57 years old. I have seen tough storms in this city as well. I recall very tough storms. So this isn't something that happened, that hasn't happened in 100 years. If nothing has been flooded before, there is a problem. And the problem needs to be resolved, that's all. Let's be open and honest with one another, figure out what's going on so that it doesn't occur again. I don't think that's wrong with that.
Do you think it was a human mistake?
It could have been. Whatever it was, you learn from your mistakes so that they don't happen again, that's all. But Fall River has the mindset, when something goes wrong, Fall River takes a broom and wants to sweep it under the rug till everybody forgets about it. I mean, you talk about the whole Coogan matter. That was a huge mistake.
Yes.
Why was something not done? But we've kind of swept it under the rug. Believe me, I've been working on that with the legal department. Do I go to executive session? Can I discuss things on the floor? I get different answers from different attorneys. But it's not an issue that I'm going to let up on because it's wrong. And you don't sweep it under the rug. You deal with it. You address it. You know, I know that lots of things are happening in various neighborhoods throughout the city, and I think that's a plus. One thing that I would like to see, I would like to see the neighborhoods all get together, come the holidays, and have a food drive. All the neighborhoods get together and have a food drive, and then distribute it to the agencies that could use it. You know, everybody get together and let's have a clothing drive to help with gloves and scarves and warm jackets for kids. I'd like to pull us together. Sometimes I think that each neighborhood is doing something. It's apart from each other. But I think, honestly, having the mayor and having the city council, we wouldn't be having good things like the celebration and block party that we had, even though some people were offended. That's okay. There was criticism of it. If you do nothing, you will not get criticized. So if you do something and you get criticized, that's okay. That's constructive criticism on how we can make it better. So I'm of the opinion, get everybody together. The only way that the mayor works with this council is that I do have an open communication with the mayor. I may not agree with him on every facet, but it's not about me and it's not about him. It's about the residents of this community. So you have to put all of that on the side and look at what happens for the residents of our community. I mean, I think that every neighborhood group that I look at has a special thing that they all do that really adds flavor to the community. Every neighborhood group has different goals and objectives, and that's fine, because there are different needs in every neighborhood. You may have one neighborhood that's being hit by crime more than another neighborhood. Then that neighborhood needs to deal with that, needs to talk about it. I mean, I have people call me if there is a problem with a car that's been on their street for, you know, for a year and it doesn't move, and I've called and nothing's done. Call me. We call, you know, we take care of it. That's kind of the things that you have to do. If there's heavy crime in one area, you let the police department know. The police department does want to reduce the amount of crime. They do want to work with all of the community. And I think that they're an integral part of, you know, what happens at the neighborhoods. Some neighborhood groups, lots of neighborhood groups have a cleanup time in the spring where you all get out and everybody cleans their various neighborhoods. Wouldn't it be a wonderful world if the people that owned property cleaned in front? Because that would give people another thing to do. I mean, I live on a dead-end street, so over the course of the winter, we have the trucks come up with sand and they turn around at the end of the street. And because of the truck jogging, there'll be some sand that falls on the street. But come the spring, as soon as you see one neighbor outside with a broom, everybody goes out and kind of sweeps up and cleans up. It's your piece of property, it's your neighborhood, and you need to be the one to take care of it too. So I'd encourage people, don't wait for other people to come in constantly and clean for you. Get out there and do your part.
Yeah, you know, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we've had cleanups and it's actually turned people off in our group that we're going cleaning in front of someone's house, and I had people come up to me and say, I have my own house to clean. Well, you know what I mean, why are we, you know, doing this here? So you're right, it's everybody doing their own part. I think it'd be a great place. But if if I could just back up to what you were talking about with the floods. It's interesting because I remember we had that big flood where, you know, the Watuppa actually overflowed onto Brayton Avenue.
I
And
remember that.
actually had a flood in my basement. We had like 2 or 3 inches of water, and I'm on a hill. And I remember coming home that day from work on 24, and the water was coming down, and they actually closed part of 24. And I don't remember seeing, the pictures or what you're talking about, that there were so many different areas. So I'm glad you're looking at that to,
I mean, there's some questions. For example, is there a policy book? Where is the manual that says how many pumps are in the city, how many gates are in the city, what has to happen, what is the benchmark for us to open this gate, what is the benchmark to open that gate? You know, who's responsible, and what is the criteria? I don't know.
What I'm surprised is it's been a couple of weeks since that happened. You did have already a meeting, city council meeting after that event. I think it was last week. So, and those questions still don't have answers.
Well, what happens is you need to bring something before the council for it to be addressed. So what we did was we brought a resolution in front of the council saying, we want the sewer department, water department, we want people here, and we also want the engineers, that were the individuals who came in and talked to the council about doing the underground tunnels, et cetera. And, I must say that there are some very, very good city councilors. I think that some people have the impression that councilors go to meetings every 2 weeks and that's it. The amount of research that you do, the calls that you do, it's not. It could absolutely be a full-time job. But look back and research into the articles in the Herald News, look back and research the videotapes of previous council meetings when they talked about this, and listen to what we were supposed to get with these underground tunnels, what they were in fact supposed to do. And then you have the answer. Sometimes people think that you forget, or sometimes people feel, you want fresh and new and you want change. Sometimes old is good, because old gives you history. I think you need a balance of elected officials, because that to me works better. It's almost like a clock. You know how you have a clock and the clock has a pendulum? Well, if it swings one way too much or the other, your timing is off. But if you can get a nice balance on that swing, then you're on time. So I think that there are councilors who have expertise in different fields of construction, of plumbing, of safety rules, of MEPA and FEMA and all of that, that it makes for a very good mix. It really makes for a good mix. And people are researching it because we have gotten inundated with calls from people on that. Sometimes I think that in the city, there's ideas that come forward or things that need to happen, but to get from point A to point B takes a long time. Let me give you an example. I've worked very hard with the real estate committee on moving these schools, doing what we need to do. I've suggested that some of the schools be knocked down, sell them for house lots, but I'm going to tell you how many house lots and what the price is going to be, and you can't go for a variance. So if you bought a house lot and Carlos bought a house lot for $40,000, the two of you can't get together with your property and now go in for a variance and build 3 houses. A lot of these floods we're having, how many more homes were connected to the sewer system when you weren't increasing your sewer system? You're going to pay the sins of the past. We're paying them. But in doing that, we did get rid of a couple of schools. But we still don't have purchase and sales agreements with the owners who bought those schools. So all summer, we as taxpayers have been paying for the upkeep of that property. Why is a purchase and sales agreement not generated within a month? I mean, I am not much into real estate, and I'm not a realtor, and I don't have a realtor's license, but I think that purchase and sales agreements are pretty much boilerplate.
Exactly.
And there is no reason that couldn't be handled. I did talk to Attorney Torres when he was here. I don't even know how long he's been gone, But, oh, that was going to be addressed next week. Well, it hasn't been. And it's not fair. Sometimes I think we just wait too long. Maybe that's just not my makeup, because I was raised, you've got a job to do, get down, figure it out, do it. You know, eu fui criada mais digifage, you know?
Maria Linda, not Linda Maria.
Now,
So as far as like the Highland School, I know that was sold to a physician, right? Has that gone through?
that has not gone through.
So, all right.
We have the Coughlin School, another one.
I mean,
The Coughlin School has not gone through. The Henry Lord has not gone through. And all of those have been sold. Now, the Coughlin is not. The individual who was going to buy it had some issues and was unable to do it. We'll still stay involved with whoever takes that property on. But, I mean, you know, we're unlocking the door to these schools for people to go in with their architects and this and that, but why not have it, I mean, for that individual, I feel it, they must be frustrated.
yeah. Well, what's
As
the,
well.
What's the explanation then that as to why like the Highland School?
Oh, there's no explanation, but see, I write letters. I email and I write letters as often as I can, because I find that that's the best way to get results. If you have conversations with people, they forget that you had the conversations with them. So I think that writing and saying, you know, why hasn't this been done? And yes, you know, tell me by this date what's going to happen. And let the departments, each department that handles this, you know, take care of it.
I'm gonna ask you, I got the same question that I asked the mayor when the mayor was here before, was dealing with all the neighborhoods. It's like a parent with 15 kids, and one wants one thing and one wants the other thing. And must be hard to be fair for every neighborhood. As city council president, do you feel a need of all these neighborhood groups?
Well, I think there's a couple of things in that one question. One was that last year we had a group of neighborhood leaders come forward and say, we want a liaison to the council. So we appointed a liaison to the council. Then I got calls from other neighborhood leaders saying, I don't want a liaison. I don't want anybody to deal with me. We have somebody who runs it. We meet with the mayor once a month. We don't need that. Well, that's not the message we were given. So with that being said, we need to be on the same field. And it's funny because being president of the city council, I get calls from a lot of the neighborhood leaders. And, you know, they'll complain about this group doing this and that group. And I have suggested what you need to do as a group is write down what your goals and objectives are. Because many groups have different goals and objectives. For example, Maplewood's goal and objective is that they want to keep a lid on the zoning in that area. That's something that's very important to the people that live in that area. Another group might be interested in the tourism, the beautification of their neighborhood. Another group might be interested in, look, I've had people knocking at my door at 9 o'clock at night. You know, we've had breaks into our area, which has never happened before. We want to do more with crime watch and police protection. Well, then each neighborhood group should have its own bylaws of what it is, what are the goals and objective for each one. And then I think it needs to be prioritized as far as what money is spent in different neighborhoods, what the priorities are. Because if you do something and give money in this neighborhood, then the people in this neighborhood are upset because they want something done here. So I think, do you know what they do in Fort Lauderdale? I have a very good friend that lives in Fort Lauderdale. And they have neighborhood groups. And the neighborhood groups have fundraisers and they come up with money. And then the city will match them, one neighborhood group at a time, will match them with their funds through their community development type thing to do what you want to do in your neighborhood. And it goes from year to year to year around. But the other thing is, they don't have all the neighborhood groups that we have. What I find as an elected leader in this community is that neighborhood groups sometimes become offended if you don't go to their neighborhood group meetings. But I think people have to realize that city councilors go to all their city council meetings. They have individual meetings with the mayor. I meet monthly with the Fall River Office of Economic Development. I meet monthly with the Chamber of Commerce. I meet several times a month with the mayor. I attend several committee meetings. There's 9 different committees, and I try to attend them. If I can't, I get a DVD. I need to sit down and watch them. I need to know what's happening at every committee meeting, because my role as president of the council means that I have a responsibility to 8 other individuals. And I don't take that lightly. I mean, I have been told, both at Fall River Office of Economic Development and at the Chamber, that I'm the only city council president that attends every single meeting. Well, it's a responsibility. If you don't want the responsibility, don't take on the job. But I do take it seriously, because that's what I think is really lacking. We need serious leadership. Can we talk about voting?
Sure, go ahead.
I have got to tell you, I don't know how many times I have told people about the importance of voting. If everybody voted, if we had 80% of the registered voters in our city going to the polls and voting, I don't care who you vote for, but just if you voted. Do you know what a message that would do, that would give to every one of your elected leaders, from your city council to the president, to Washington? It really gives it. I mean, what would we do if I said, John, Carlos, if you vote, you're going to get a $50 bill when you get there? You think more people would go vote if they were going to get handed a $50 bill when they went to vote?
Probably. I think
But
that
you-
most definitely. But I don't think you even need that. I think like in Australia, if you're on, say, public assistance, they make you register to vote before you can get your assistance. But I agree with you. I was just on the Cape all last week, and you know what signs I saw out there? Keating all over the place. And it's a shame that we have Fall River and New Bedford, and a small area like the Cape beat the heck out of us because we refused to vote out here. I think that's what's sad. So,
I have a different perspective on that.
all right, I just...
I get what you're saying, because you look at the more affluent, rule those who are less affluent is kind of, but I also think that the federal government, along with the state sometimes, they gerrymander these districts to get the more affluent people to be able to get in. Why is it that we don't have a congressman from Fall River, New Bedford, and Taunton? Why is it that our city gets split? You know why? Because you don't vote.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we need to bring her back for a show just to talk about votes.
Well, no, because, I mean, for me, my perspective is a little bit different, being a woman.
Yeah.
I remember reading all about the suffragettes and that, and, think about the men and women that go to war to fight for your freedom, for your democracy, and you're too lazy to get up and vote?
I agree.
You're too lazy to get an absentee ballot?
I agree.
And women, how many women had problems with their spouses, were beaten and jailed to give you, a woman, the right to vote, and you're too lazy to get up?
It's still, I mean, places like Afghanistan, look at how I've read numerous books on that. Look what's happening there, and it is very, very frustrating.
And half an hour it's gone.
Half an hour,
We
see?
have all the...
Mas eu vou dizer em
all the
português que é
signs.
muito importante uma pessoa votar. Se uma pessoa não vota, não pode estar a criticar. A gente temos o direito de votar e muitas pessoas estão muito preguiçosas de levantarem-se e irem. Se não podem ir às urnas, podem tirar um boletim, podem ir ao City Hall, votar antes do dia das eleições, mas têm que votar. Homens e mulheres que morreram em guerra para dar o direito de votar. Mulheres que foram para a cadeia porque estavam a apoiar para as mulheres terem o direito de votar. E a preguiça das pessoas, eu fico tão zangada com isso, porque não tem razão nenhuma de uma pessoa estar em casa sem votar. We really, really need, with all of the problems in this country, we need serious leadership. We absolutely need serious leadership. So people need to be serious about voting.
Thanks.
Thank you both for having me.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
Carlos,
Linda.
estou contente que cortaste o cabelo para mim.
Obrigado.
Estás muito giro.
Have a good night.
Thank you.